Hey, what's up guys? Jason Julius here, and great weather has hit the beaches, as you can tell by the tank top, a little bit of sun on the skin, and it just, brought up the topic in my head to talk about ejaculation frequency and how it might affect premature ejaculation. Now, I'm not really sure how those two things go together, but it is one of those things that I've been meaning to bring up because of how many emails I get based on how, as you may already know, I already have a lot of videos on this channel that talk about premature ejaculation and different exercises, techniques, and things like that. The one variable that's actually really important to talk about that has come up in a number of email conversations that I've had with some of my clients, and I've been teaching this for a really long time, is, one variable that's very important is how often you ejaculate and how that might play into, how much premature ejaculation you're experiencing, and what you could do differently and things like that. And even if that's not something that you feel is affecting you, it might actually, some of the things we talk about in this might actually be really still very interesting to you. So the first thing we should talk about is that us human beings, as one of the most hypersexual animals on the planet, are designed to ejaculate very frequently. Say you were gonna go try to freeze your sperm because you wanted to donate your sperm, you wanted to save it as an insurance plan, whatever. Now, the guidelines typically are at a sperm bank to refrain from ejaculation for at least 48 hours, but not more than 72 hours, because after 72 hours, dead sperm cells start to accumulate and the quality of the semen and sperm go down, right? So they want you to build it up as long as possible without going too long where dead sperm start to build up. Now that kind of gives us an indicator that we're actually designed to ejaculate quite frequently if after only 72 hours we start to degrade the sperm quality because of dead cells. Now, another study of over 30,000 men looked at relation of ejaculation frequency to prostate cancer, and men that ejaculated anywhere from 13 to 20 times per month had a 14% less risk of prostate cancer, but men who ejaculated 21 or more times actually decreased their chance of prostate cancer by, I believe it was like 43%. So that again also shows that we are designed to release quite frequently. Now, I also want to say that I'm obviously not a doctor, and you should talk to your doctor about what is right for you. And I also want to say that every guy, his physiology is different based on just his genetics, and also anywhere from genetics to age, and how you treat your body and your lifestyle can actually play a huge role in how often you need or should ejaculate. But what I'm trying to paint the picture of here is we are a creature that is really designed to ejaculate quite often. And so when I look at my group of that have come looking for stuff to learn about premature ejaculation, what they can do about it, there's a subset within that group that I know needs to hear this message about frequency of ejaculation, because a lot of them are ejaculating so little that they'll go a really long time, even 7-10 days, and be like, why am I struggling to control my ejaculation? And that's a really important thing to bring up, because the longer duration that you go and the more, semen and sperm gets built up, the more sensitive you become and the more difficult of a time you have controlling your ejaculation. Even for me, I can control my ejaculation as much as I want to, but if I start to go 7-10 days out, it becomes even way more difficult, because I'm so built up. I think by about day 3, my mind is already starting to shut off, and my body's saying, please release, please let go. And I'll be triggered a lot easier. It becomes a little bit more difficult to control yourself physically, but it also becomes more difficult to do some of the mental stuff. You just become way more sensitive. So when we talk about premature ejaculation and reconditioning yourself, because premature ejaculation is very much an auto response, right? And so, however you've trained your body and mind to respond to stimulation, typically via masturbation. A lot of guys just want that quick release. They let it go. Their auto response is like, that's what we do. Yeah, that's what we do. Just let it go. And that is a win for your genetics. If you just, ejaculate, there's nothing really wrong with that. But if you want to last long enough for your woman to have an orgasm, then it becomes very different. You want to recondition that auto response. So when I'll tell guys that, it'd be like, yeah, you want to, frequently ejaculate and frequently masturbate to train yourself within those boundaries where you can tune into your mind, tune into your physiology, practice things like threshold control, and do it on your own without the pressure of her being there, without the overstimulation of her being there. Sometimes there's that, again, subset of guys who can't believe that I got an email from a guy the other day, he couldn't believe that, I need to ejaculate like 5 times per week. And the answer to that is yes, you actually need to, and maybe 5 times is too much for you, but maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe increasing the frequency with when you ejaculate will actually help you to not be so built up and sensitive when you have intercourse the next time. And again, this is for the guys who are, not really realizing the longer duration that they go between ejaculations, the more sensitive they become. So during that time period of retraining yourself, it's advantageous to, ejaculate frequently, and that's gonna vary for everybody. And actually, that's one of the things that I wanna bring up in this is I want you to write in the comments, how many times a week do you ejaculate? For me, I would say it's very simple, 7 days a week. I would say a good frequency for me is once per day. If I go any less than that, I start to get overly built up. If I go over that, I start to feel a little bit too drained. And that's probably gonna be the other thing that, people are gonna bring up is, you don't wanna ejaculate too often, it might drain you. Well, that's gonna also depend on 1, your physiology, and 2, your lifestyle. So I'm 38, and I know for a time period, when I started hitting my mid-30s, that frequency might have actually went down, but I've done a lot to optimize my testosterone, increase seminal volume, and all those kinds of things that I'm gonna get into on this channel. I think that's gonna be some of my upcoming videos. So if you're interested in that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because that is something that I'm super passionate about, is optimizing your hormones, your sex drive, and all those kinds of things. But, assuming all those things are on point, or you are at a certain baseline, understanding what your baseline is so that you don't ejaculate so much that you drain yourself, but you don't go so long that by the time you actually have sex with your woman, you're so built up that you're just like ready to explode. Again, I just want to reiterate it because I know there's certain guys who are they're trying to do this, and they're getting so built up that a woman just walks by them and they're practically, the wind of her walking by, their bodies are like, let's let it go, because they've gone so long. Now, I know there's also a lot of guys who are like, look, I ejaculate often and I still have premature ejaculation. And for those guys, the same thing is true. You still need to take the time to put in the conditioning, but you're already probably at a proper point where you're ejaculating at a frequency that's not working against you. You're, just up against reconditioning that autopilot response. But while you're doing the reconditioning that autopilot response, you don't want another variable working against you where you're just letting yourself get so built up. Like I said, if I go, I could barely 3-4 days and I'm like losing my mind. If I've gone 7-10 days, at that point, I'm typically just ready to explode. And obviously I'll be able to go again, but that first one can be the hardest one to control. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. And so that's what I wanted to relate to you about, how often you might ejaculate does really play somewhat of a role in premature ejaculation. If you're letting yourself go too long, get too built up, get too sensitive, you might benefit from ejaculating a little bit more often. And there's also a subset of guys I know on this channel who have kind of a delayed ejaculation, and for them, the very best advice for them is to ejaculate less frequently, right? So it's all about how we condition ourselves. It's all about, kind of keeping track of that part of our biology that builds up and understanding, not to take it too far and, delay your ejaculation because you ejaculate too much, but also, not let yourself get so built up that you can't control it. So I hope that helps you guys. Again, leave a comment below. I want to know, what's your experience with this? How often do you ejaculate in a week? And I think that might help a lot of other guys. So any guys that want to, mention that in the comments, that will probably be helpful for a lot of guys. And again, make sure you hit the subscribe button because I have a lot of cool content coming up, including how to optimize your drive so that you can ejaculate even more often and recover from sex even faster. And if you do have premature ejaculation, I think one of the best places to start and something that you can start using tonight is my threshold control technique. And I have a free video available over on my blog at jasonjulius.com/control. So make sure you check that out. And thank you guys for all the emails about that. I think that technique has helped a lot of guys. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure you do that. And I'll see you in the next video.